What's up, everybody? This is Joseph R Wherler III, the artist, founder, and president of the ONYXCON Foundation. Happy holidays. I hope everybody had a good, rich plate. Happy Black Friday for those who like to shop and get deals and all that kind of good stuff. I'd like to make a comment about something I saw surfing through YouTube today that was highly disturbing. So, Judge Joe Brown, okay? Everybody who knows who that is, famous judge, actual judge, actual somebody who did work the job of a real job as an actual court judge for years before he was discovered by Hollywood. According to my research, the same company, producers that do Judge Judy, reached out to him and wanted to put him on as a new face of their judge content. And the rest is history with that part. And to my understanding, that show is long gone. He's, I guess you could say, semi-retired now, I would hope. And the only reason I say I would hope is after hearing the way he's talking these days. And Judge Joe, if you ever watch, I have watched Judge Joe. I've watched the show. I've watched Judge Judy. These are not my favorite types of shows. I don't sit around watching judge shows. But, if you go to the doctor's office, if you do any type of appointment during a weekday, when most of us have some form of 9 to 5, 10 to 11, whatever kind of work you do, but you got to do something during the midday, you might mess around and see one of these shows. So, Judge Joe has a friendship, I assume, or was invited to be a part of a lady's podcast, breaking down how much she loved Wakanda Forever. Shout out to her for having her own damn opinion in the midst of who else she got to deal with on this show with Judge. Because he kept, breaking her state of concentration while she's doing her intro. She's like, can you just let me finish? I mean, I was like, wow, really? Okay. On your own damn show. So Judge Joe, all he ever liked about Black Panther, from the first one to the second one, was Killmonger.
You save her brother. So technically, Killmonger killed T'Challa. So
Good. He was a handkerchief-head, counter-revolutionary creature of his mama, his aunt, and all those women that used him as a tight-wearing figurehead. His bodyguards kept him in check. He didn't have much authority except as a figurehead. The next thing is Killmonger did not need that magical drug to whip his ass. He was the king. The women committed high treason to contrive and connive with some cavemen living above the snow line in Africa in caves, and they brought them in to commit treason. They induced everybody to get into a silly, disgusting, mortal combat situation between the men and women of the tribe. Let's digress into the whole sordid background of what you were looking at, Wakanda 1 and 2.
Yeah, I know you think it's all about you because, you're the people's whatever. People gonna recognize your name and, like I say, clickbait for you talking stuff. But still, it's her platform, so obviously you need her because otherwise ain't nobody checking for Judge Joe. I'm sorry to say, this new society, the way things work, I mean, hell, here today, gone tomorrow. So, I hope your pockets are straight and everything, but you're not what you used to be. You're not hot stuff no more, man. Like, calm down. Let this lady put you on. I'm not saying I've never watched Judge Joe and was not entertained or didn't think he had something positive, progressive to say. But for the most part, even when he was younger and at his height of his career, I was never a fan. I was never like I say, I don't sit around watching judge shows. And it's sensationalism, and they always pick the worst types of people to be on these shows. They try to get the worst situations to be on these shows. Not always the worst type of people, but, they try to dig at the bottom of the barrel of society and find folks who are just at their last to get out there and make a fool of themselves and be told that they're a fool by the judge, and you can't say anything back, and you still get your check at the end of the show if you just shut up and take all this ridicule, and if you dare bark back, you better not bark more than the judge does. You're not going to show me out on my show and all of that kind of stuff. That's what it is. So, as I'm sure you sit very comfortably, I would hope after all those years on TV, sit somewhere very comfortably and bark your rhetoric from your easy chair, But don't be up in here disrespecting this lady on her own show, and she's the host helping you to still have a name and a presence of any kind. Because like I say, I mean, who's really checking for Judge Joe these days? Anyway, so he's going off trying to cut her off on her own show. She finally gets her words out. And then she said, before I let you go, I just want to finish what I got to say. And she was more or less saying she enjoyed the story. She enjoyed the concept. She liked it overall. Perspective. I'm in the film biz, so I'm talking from that perspective too. And I was in the film. I mean, you know, I did some background on it, and you know, didn't show up big time, but hell, I have showed up big time before, and I do my own independent stuff. I don't wait on Hollywood. I'll give y'all a little background before I get into this, because I know if you don't know me, you don't know ONYXCON, you know, well, who are you? Who are you? You know, we got a lot of who are you kind of culture going on. So I'm a somebody, not a nobody, talking about other somebodies that do stuff, whether I agree with them or not, right? So back to that. Let's get in it.
This is supposed to be the most technologically advanced place on the planet Earth outside of that secondary thing that develops. Where do you see them? They don't even have a damn restaurant for the people to eat in.
I was like, what you want, Joe? You want a Golden Corral with a senior discount? You want a Shoney's with a cute, you know, real subservient to every man who comes in the door waitress that takes your order and rubs your bald head and tells you still cute even though you're looking like, man, let me shut up. That's what you want, Joe? That's what you want, Joe? Man, if you don't, man, they don't even have a restaurant in Wakanda. That mess, man, I admit, maybe he was trying to be funny. If he was, you damn sure got me back on that one, bro. That one had me rolling. Yeah, that one had me. I said, this man literally just said, they ain't even got a restaurant. A restaurant? Who gives a... And he got mad about the fact that he saw people cooking on grills. Oh, dirty grills. Dirty grill? What? You so sophisticated, but you still cooking on a grill. Bruh, I don't care what you got to say. The greatest chefs in the world, whether it's indoor or outside, have grills. And just because it's the most sophisticated society in this fantasy or in this film, doesn't mean people would totally destroy traditions that are age old. We gave the world barbecue. What's wrong with that? You supposed to be so black. Man, get out of here. I'm suspicious of black folk got the nerve to go that far. Now, if you wanted to say stop eating chitlins, if you wanted to say keep your blood pressure and your diabetes in check, and you saw people in the film eating too much sugar or just take a bag of salt and pour it down their throat, okay, we'd have a conversation. But you got mad because you saw people in the market eating barbecue?
It's ridiculous. They're out there with wet markets where they're frying chicken pieces on a grill with charcoal, and this is the most technological place in the world. Oh, get real. When you go to war, you use a spear. You don't use a projectile weapon, a beam weapon, or something your high technology permits.
Out there with spears. You missed the whole point. They're not just spears. Even Killmonger himself said this spear has the power to destroy a tank because of it being made of vibranium. They were giving you a fantasy to say, what if, but your brain can't think that way. He said, why don't they have projectile shooting? Why don't they have a gun? Because all I know from my born in 1940s mentality is, man with the gun got some power. You ain't got no gun. You ain't got no power. Look, I'm an advocate for gun safety and gun ownership within reason of rightful, and again I say, safety, responsibility, just usage for protection and defense of oneself, family, valuables, life, etc. When it comes to the origin of how weapons of that sort started, it all goes back to military, which I have. Hey, we in a military world. I have respect for levels of that also. But tactical usage and tactical weaponry on that level has really poisoned the imagination of people going to see films like this, which I always say, look, if you can't take the heat of sci-fi and fantasy and all of what we do, stay out our damn kitchen. Go back over there with your John Wayne while you're talking about you love black folks so much, because this is where that mentality came from. You didn't grow up on black men on camera. You grew up on white men that were racist on camera, racist in their real life, racist on the camera and in real life. It's a fact. It ain't nothing hard to tell. You can look it up. It ain't hard to find. That's what you grew up on, Joe Brown. And you got the nerve to disrespect a generation that can see black men and black women do the supernatural, the fantastic, the unbelievable, and try and downplay it and how that works in the mind of our kids and our adults. Everybody needs a fantasy. Yes, everybody needs a power trip. And I'd be damned if a gun ain't always the only example of how to use that power. There's other types of films. I've played police officers. I've held with respect to what that is, handling the fake guns just like a real one on set, finger off the trigger, don't ever point it at nobody the whole night. I know procedure and I know protocol, and I act accordingly. I respect the code. I walk the path. I play the character. I do the damn role. And you will believe me when you see me as any of them characters.
This is disgustingly stupid. The next thing is it's a chick flick, feminist fantasy. You had scene after scene where the little bitty slight girls are supposed to take on the guys and women.
So, first of all, when he went into a rant about the Jabari people, and I assume he was talking about the first film, because here's the other thing. He's so old and crotchety right about now. My brother don't even put together clear sentences the same. He's talking as if he's talking about the first film, but then within seconds, he'll say something, you're like, wait a minute, he's talking about part 2 now. He's like, man, stay focused. Which one you want to, which story are you dogging out? And it's like, if you ask both of them, oh, man, you don't go on and sit down somewhere and eat some pudding, man? Damn. I used to work with seniors, by the way. So I know how people get the older and older and older they get. And I used to work with the heaviest of the heavy of mental conditions. I'm talking about Alzheimer's and dementia. I worked with adult day programs for over 10 years. Y'all hear me? Over 10 years of experience. I don't dog out my elders. I don't disrespect my elders. But from being in those environments, I learned a lot. And I learned that, hell, if someone is a very bitter, jaded person that is so set in their ways that they can't see anything from anybody else's perspective, they lose all objectivity by the time they cross the threshold of their, say 80s at least. I mean, it can happen even earlier than them, but definitely they get in them late 70s, 80s especially. Oh my gosh, if they're lucky to live that long. It is amazing the the levels of I don't give a F and it's all about me. As and you got people sitting in their own ish, needing diaper changes, and you got men who used to abuse their wives and go upside their kids' heads every day, that now they know somebody can thump them and they fall out their chair and break their neck, but they still want to act hard. It's amazing. It's like, calm down. Your badass days is over. The best you need to do is make some friends and hope somebody will be a badass for you if you're in a bad situation. Because, homie, and I know everybody got a gun and everybody's so bad and crazy. Look, man, we're not talking from that perspective. But like I just said, everybody got something. So it ain't about that either. It's just, we ought to be able to give our opinions without people losing their mind and getting nasty with each other to the point where it sounds like you about to damn just really let it pop off over some BS. There's no money at stake here. No one's taking any spinach out of your bag. I would hope after all them years on television, Judge Joe ought to be good. I mean, he ought to be straight. He ought to be. But here's another reason why I think folks, when I see them ranting like this at that age, haven't had a career like that. Maybe not. Maybe he got done over by lawyers and previous debts and lifelong. I don't know. I don't know and don't care. But I do know this. There's no reason to dog out a movie like this on every one of the levels he was dogging it out and say some of the things he was saying, the way he was saying it. And want somebody to hear you out and respect what you got to say. you're just gonna end up talking to deaf ears at a minute. Because, like I say, if it wasn't for the clickbait of it all, with you saying something about Wakanda Forever, which shocked me, because I'm just like, I wouldn't even think a Judge Joe might be into a movie like that. But since he took the time to see it, or somebody dragged him in the theater, because I don't see how he got to the second one if he hated the first one so much. Obviously, somebody dragged him in the theater. Right. And you'll see what I mean if you watch this doggone. And, you know, I'm not telling you nothing. I would support that lady's channel. We all trying to get what we need out of YouTube. Whether I agree with your content or not, you know, get paid. We need this. We all need that. Stay able to live and support you and your families. So he went on and on and on about, you know, he hated the fact that Shuri became the new Black Panther and she's kicking grown men's asses, and Namor should have been able to mop the floor with her, and even though she got fatally wounded, she come back and saved the day. That's just a bunch of mess. It's a feminist fantasy for these women. Stop feeding them that garbage.
Disgustingly stupid. The next thing is it's a chick flick feminist fantasy. You had scene after scene where the little bitty slight girls are supposed to take on the guys and whip them. So,
first of all, if you're into comic books, right? This genre, this industry was started in America by nothing but, for the most part, white males with a whole white male immigrants. If you want to get outside of the whole just white Anglo-Saxon and get into the amount of white Jewish people, folks who are Latino who consider themselves white Latinos. This is who founded most of Marvel and DC, and still has most of the power in the seats of the comic book realm in terms of in levels of employment. You know, DC does have Jim Lee in charge right now. Shout out to that. I love to see that. But still, and Marvel has always had more diverse characters and ethnicities represented in the characters. But for you to talk about feminist fantasies, let's not get so far off on this whole sometimes realistic issue of extreme modern feminism and extreme modern alpha males BS. Because you got chest beating and then you got women stuff too. It's a lot of both. And obviously, Judge Joe, I'm a man Brown, is on the chest beating man side of it all, unapologetically. I mean, he's firing off so many shots, wants all the smoke, but ain't nobody coming, Joe. Don't nobody care. It's like it really makes you feel bad for an old man to be this mad about nothing you cannot change, and nothing you're gonna say is gonna put a dent. I mean, not even a pebble, a pea shooter dent in the train of money and opportunity that these films provide. And that's where I'm first standing on the principles that if you really are for Black communities growing and having financial gains in a society that we have always known we have been treated second class and kept down and all this other stuff that we know we're dealing with, why is it every time here's a progressive positive outlet for talent to be shown, for stories to be told? At one point in this mess, he even tried to say, and we know damn so well that nobody Black write this BS. And then the lady says, I have to interject. Hold on, Judge.
And by the way, guess who funded and guess who wrote the scripts for that stuff? Wasn't us.
The director wrote it. He wrote and directed it. Ryan Coogler, something like that. He wrote and directed.
And and who do you think was standing over his shoulder dealing with that? See, I know how it works.
What?
Where is the money? Follow the money. Who paid for this?
I want to ask you.
And why was it supposed to be made in the first place? Because ABC and Disney were about to suffer a disaster if they didn't come up with money, cash money, to pay off long past due interest.
I want to
on
ask
a judgment taken against them.
What review how many stars did you give the first Black Panther movie? How many stars?
1.
first one was worse than the second one?
Yes, because he set the framework. The second one at least had
Ryan Coogler wrote it. And then there's another black man also who was the writer of part 2, Wakanda Forever. What are you talking about? And then he's just like, well, if you know anything about how that works in Hollywood, I know who was over his shoulder. I know who was over his shoulder while he was writing. Who was over your shoulder when you had your show, man? Who was over your show? You couldn't do and say anything on your show. Your show. You never have anything that's completely yours when you work for anybody else.
You never have anything that's completely yours when you work for anybody else.
Hollywood, any major corporation you want to name, it does not matter. You don't own nothing, man. I don't give a damn if you was a producer. Who's the studio? Who's the production? Who's the damn network that put your black television to where I even know who your name is, man? Calm down. Stop coming for each other if you're really mad at the system. If you really mad at the system, to the point you so fired up, you ready to go to war with everybody black that don't bring out something that reflects what you want to see, then start your own damn network. And I mean on your own bought soil, with your own purchased camera, not rented. Y'all better hear me. I ain't say rented equipment, because I'm about to say something that ain't no secret, but just to put it in perspective, because I have total respect for what he built. I would say that again. I have total respect for what he built. But Tyler Perry Studios, okay, he owns that dirt. That's the first step in showing you really about it. All right? All you chest beating real man, we gotta have this, we gotta have that, and they I don't know about a Judge Brown Studios nowhere. And if you got one, the name ain't big enough, and y'all ain't doing enough, because I know you wouldn't have time to be on a little podcast somewhere trying to beat down Wakanda Forever, dude. But back to the point. Tyler Perry Studios, he owns that dirt. But he still is smart enough to understand with the maintenance required to run all of that equipment, to shoot a film or a series, he does not own all of the equipment. I know for a fact, because I have to have a job. I've had to have jobs. I still need a job to do everything I'm doing, like this damn phone I'm holding, this vehicle I'm rolling, the gas that had to go in it. Everything about my life got to require that I got to deal with somebody else to get my shit. And I understand that. That don't mean I'm going to kiss everybody behind. You ain't going to treat me no kind of anyway. But as long as you ain't coming at me, I ain't coming at you. Let's all go get what we need and be living. But anyway, I used to do company, hell with them. I used to ride for one of those rideshare companies, right? And I picked up a gentleman twice. He was really cool, the guy. White guy that worked at this company that did maintenance on the equipment that is used by not only Tyler Perry Studios, but damn near 90% of all studios in the Atlanta metro area. Do you hear what I'm saying? You're talking about some real money. You're talking about some real power. Anyway, he just worked there. I'm sure his checks are real good. I know he was a six-figure man. Right? Anyway. Or close to. But the point is this. Unless you got your own dirt, your own equipment, your own unions, so that people will come work for you and not be worried about I'm going to lose my SAG membership because I work for another union or somebody else's. None of that exists. Ain't barely none of what I'm talking about exists. At least Tyler owns his dirt. At least he owns most of his productions. He writes his own shit. Yes. That's power. That's why I respect that part of it. Now, do I like everything he did to get there? His characters and his images and no. But some of his movies, yes. Some of his concepts, yes. Some of the little messages in between all the nonsense, yes. Have I worked for Tyler Perry Studios doing background work? Yes. Was I disrespected? Not by him personally. I've had some moments on set, but I put that on individuals, not the whole damn company or the man who runs it. Matter of fact, the few exchanges I've ever had with Mr. Perry were quite positive and uplifting and humorous at best. He's a cool dude, and the only one I ever got to see was a cool dude. That's all I ever needed. I don't need nothing else. I don't want to see what he does on his personal time. I don't care what he does on his personal time. All I care about that is how you respect me, how you respect other black folk trying to make it, other people trying to make it that ain't done nothing to you to disrespect you. But here we go with a joke. You got that kind of power. You supposed to be so winner. You obviously ain't got what you used to have, and you're mad about it, man. You're sitting somewhere bitter. Because if you had time to keep doing all this positive that you talk about and be this man you talk about, then there would be more. I want to see Judge Brown Studios. That's what I want to see. Since Hollywood this, Hollywood that, we all can sit around and talk about that all day. I'm here for it. I got way too many stories. But it ain't about that. It's about the future. It's about what you can build for your damn self. And it's about what is happening with black producers and directors and writers on, yes, the most prolific paradigm shift in the history of the cinematic film universe. I didn't just say Marvel. I said cinematic film universe in this country, in this world. Black Panther is that shift. It ain't perfect, but how the hell anything gotta be in this pathetic backwards? Man, back up off the real stuff. Back up off the real stuff. I take it a little personal, yeah. Because I'm of science fiction, fantasy, and all of that for black folk to see ourselves in a different light. What people like Brown and all them, what I notice about them have an issue with, what they really got an issue with, is it ain't ghetto. It ain't ghetto.